Hey, Yuri Elkaim here from myfoodie.com/abs, and we're talking about how to lose belly fat and get six-pack abs. That's what this series is all about. And today we're going to be talking about what is the best diets to help you lose belly fat and see your abdominals. Well, I'm not a huge believer in diets. I don't believe they work, and my approach is a little bit different. And if you've seen the other video where we talked about the importance of counting calories and the fact that it's calories in and calories out and the negative energy balance, that's all true, but at the end of the day, counting calories sucks. I mean, I had a salad, work with me here. I had a salad last night, and it had dried cranberries, pears, walnuts, a tiny bit of goat cheese, some arugula, and some other greens. How on earth am I supposed to count the calories in that salad? I mean, it's impossible, and I'm not going to spend hours and hours, finding charts, and plus it's inaccurate. Studies show that most people underreport their calorie consumption by about 30%. So, it's kind of, I've never really counted calories, and I don't really promote people counting calories, unless you're on something like Weight Watchers. I think Weight Watchers is a great approach, because it makes that whole thing, concept of counting points and counting calories relatively easy and a lot more enjoyable. Now that we've kind of moved past that, calories are one thing, but really what I promote as a diet to lose fat and lose weight in the long run, it's all about eating whole foods, nutrient dense versus calorie dense. I don't like when people ask me, how many carbs are in this, what percentage of protein, what's the breakdown of my nutrients, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. We shouldn't be fractionizing foods. We should be looking at an apple as an apple, not how many carbs or how much fat or how much protein is in it, because that food is perfect as it is. The goal is to look at foods in their whole perspective and bringing good nutrition into your body. When you do so, you cannot go wrong. Now, I'm going to give myself a little shameless plug here, because if you don't know already, I've written a book called Eating for Energy. It's available as a book on Amazon.com or an ebook from eatingforenergy.ca. Now, this is one of the best guides to nutrition you will ever come across, because it's different from everything else that's out there. A lot of these ab programs and fat loss programs talk about the same old stuff. How much protein should I eat? How many carbs? What's the breakdown of my nutrients? Blah, blah, blah. How many calories and all this nonsense. Who cares? It's not a sustainable way of looking at foods. And foods are not meant to be broken down like that. If you want to do that, that's totally fine. Eating for Energy is all about eating more plant-based whole foods. And in the book, I talk about the importance of eating incorporating more raw foods into your existing diet. I'm not a raw foodist. I don't promote becoming a raw foodist. If that's something you want to do, that's totally fine. But that's not the premises of this book. Some of the things I talk about in the book and why it's important in regards to losing fat around your belly. I'm just going to give you a couple concepts here. One of the concepts I talk about in the book is called, it's basically about pH balance and alkalinity. Now, besides all the health benefits that from a fat loss perspective, if your body is too acidic, right? And by too acidic, I mean too much animal protein, too much dairy, too many refined sugars, refined carbohydrates, stuff like that, processed foods, all those are acid-forming foods in the body. If your body is too acidic, your blood has to use calcium as a buffer, and it kind of weakens the bones and all that. It's a kind of different story. But what the body will do is it'll actually take a lot of the acid out of the blood and store it in your fat cells. And if your body is too acidic, that means that your fat cells need to be there in order to hold on to this acid. So even if you try, high protein diets, which I think are an absolute devastation to your health, if you try doing that kind of diet or following that kind of diet, that's only going to promote further problems, because yes, you'll lose weight, but it's predominantly water. If you introduce carbohydrates back in, your body will plump back up. The problem is with these high protein diets is they're very acidic, which means your body has to hold on to more acid in the fat cells, which means that the fat cells need to be there, which means that you cannot lose weight very easily on a high acidic diet. The goal is to alkalize your body, and when I mean alkalinity and alkalize, I'm talking about eating more foods that are alkaline forming in your body, and that's predominantly green vegetables, followed by fruit. So think of anything that's green, whether it's broccoli, Swiss chard, kale, lettuce, arugula, anything that's green, is going to bring tremendous amounts of alkalinity into your body. And by alkalinity, we're talking about alkalizing minerals such as calcium, potassium, magnesium, all these really, really beneficial minerals that obviously do a lot of good for your body. So again, it's about getting foods in that will alkalize your body, and that's pretty much just a whole foods plant-based diet. I mean, if you want to continue eating meat, that's fine. Just reduce the consumption to 2 to 3 times a week. I know a lot of these programs and people who are promoting eating meat 2 to 3 times a day, which I think is absolutely insane because of obviously the saturated fat issue, the difficulty to digest those protein issue once they're cooked. I mean, the acidity issue, the fact that you're eating a dead animal and the energy that's related with that, and the stress hormones. I mean, there's all sorts of things that I talk about in the book, but that's just one idea I want to give you. The other concept I just want to briefly allude to is when you eat more raw foods are packed with food enzymes, and enzymes are important because if you can't digest your foods properly, they're not going to be digested properly, and therefore they're going to be more readily kind of sitting around in your colon, making you feel bloated, making you feel poochy because you're not eliminating. And again, the food's going to be more readily stored as fat. Now, with raw foods, you're getting a lot more food enzymes, and food enzymes are enzymes in the foods that help digest themselves. So for instance, we'll use the example of an apple. If you have an apple in its raw state, it has all the enzymes in it to digest itself. Once you cook that apple, those enzymes are basically destroyed, and your body has to use its own enzymes now to digest that apple. Now, so it's really about, from an energy perspective, we're talking about here when it relates to enzymes, because look how I'm getting all sophisticated and stuff now.